Hi everyone and welcome back to the SL24 podcast. I'm your host Elena and today we're here with a peer specialist from Sean's house. So first, can you start off by introducing yourself and tell us how you first got involved with Sean's house?
But of course. My name is Lily Snouffer, Pisces, biology major. Clearly there's a hierarchy of importance here. Biology major, senior. I am a peer lead at Sean's house. I've been working here for over a year. And what else about me? I love music. I love concerts. I go to a lot of concerts. I do improv. So I'm really cool and go to a lot of parties. And yeah, I think that does it. Oh, and I got involved with Sean's house my sophomore year of college. I actually found out about it through Chandler, who has a podcast episode on the docket. So give that one a listen. Actually, pause this, and then go listen to his, and then come back. But yeah, Chandler brought Sean's house to my pre-med fraternity. Again, really cool. I go to a lot of parties. He brought it to our pre-med fraternity, and it was this, organization about mental health, and I was like, this sounds really cool, providing peer support. It's not something I'd ever ventured into, but I thought it would be a good opportunity, and it ended up being a great opportunity and extremely meaningful to me, and now I've been working here for a really long time, and it's been great.
Yeah. And what was the training process like here?
So my training process was virtual, which was helpful because it was over break and over UD's winter break, which is atrociously long. So we would meet weekly to do like informational training sessions, and then we also had a healthcare theater, which was, I think, the more important part of training, where we get to practice providing peer support in a controlled setting with actors, essentially. And that was really, really helpful for being able to practice my skills before getting out into my volunteer position as a peer specialist. Made me feel a lot more confident about starting the role. So the training process was really good and rigorous, and prepared me well for the job here.
Yeah. And what does a typical day-to-day look like as a peer lead here?
It varies greatly. Sometimes there are quite a lot of people who come to the house looking for peer support. Sometimes it's just people coming in to hang out, or, pet one of our therapy dogs, which is also equally important, to come in and hang out. That's what we're here for. But I'd say a lot of what I do here is controlling the playlist and waiting for people to go, oh my god, I love this song. And then I can go, oh my god, that's my playlist, thank you. That is one of the more heartwarming parts of my job. No, but I would say probably average shift, like one person comes in, and we typically delegate a peer support session to one of the volunteers who's on shift first, so they get that opportunity. And then if the situation were to be more serious, or like crisis level, or just like needs a different opinion, they can call in a peer lead to also take a look at the situation, and we go from there.
And what kinds of conversations usually happen here at Sean's house?
In the house, just hanging out with people. It's very like casual, normal conversations, talking about school, like complaining about homework, talking about like movies and video games and all that sort of thing. And then within like a peer support within a peer support session, the conversations are can be anything. People come in to talk about a wide variety of things. Sometimes they want to vent about being stressed out with school, maybe like friendship problems, relationship problems, talk about family, work, anything, any of those things that cause like stressors in your daily life. And it could also be like more, I guess I would say, urgent concerns, where it is, some people do come in with a more like crisis level situation, and that is okay. You know, that's what we're here for, and we just act accordingly when that happens and treat everybody's need for peer support with the respect that it needs. Whether you're coming in just because you're upset with a professor because they gave you a grade you didn't like, or if something like really monumental happened, like someone passed away, or things that are like life shattering sort of situations, we're here for all of that. Yeah. So I experience a wide range of people's problems when they come to the house.
Yeah. And you mentioned a little bit about your playlists and how that's one of your favorite things, but how else do you, as a peer specialist, create a welcoming environment here?
I think I and all of the other peers who work in the house do a really good job of welcoming people very warmly. Whenever someone comes in, we're all saying hi, you know, what brings you into the house. We have a lot of gather and grow dinners here, which is where we host student groups to have a nice meal, talk about mental health, what have you. So having those in the house is also a very, like, brings a sense of community building. Um, I'm a big chit chatter at heart, so you know when people come into the house, like I'm so down to just talk about whatever. Um, but yeah, it's just like being open. Sometimes people don't want to talk, and that's okay too. And making sure that they know that they can just sit, chill out. Just being welcoming to all walks of life and all people, no matter what their situation is.
Yeah. And I know a lot of other colleges don't have as many mental health resources as we have here at UD, but why do you think Sean's House specifically is so important for college students?
I think Sean's House is a really important resource, obviously, and it's very different than I would say the traditional model of seeking out mental health support on a college campus. I think the traditional way would be going to your college's health center and finding like one of their counselors or clinicians to talk to, which is a great thing to do, and we offer that's offered at UD as well. But sometimes people don't want to go straight to a clinician, or it might feel scary to go to the health center, especially maybe if you're new to the school or you just haven't talked about mental health much. Maybe it's your first time seeking out someone to talk to. A place like Sean's House is really great for that, because what I tell people when they have a peer support session with me is I'm just a regular person. Like, I'm not a clinician. I don't have my degree. I am just a regular person here to listen to you and help you find resources, or just like hang out and let you talk. And a lot of people come to Sean's House and then end up going to clinical support afterwards because they have the resources, maybe like the language to access it, which they didn't have before. Maybe just a sort of push in that direction that they were looking for, that they might not be able to get from their friends or their family or anyone else. So it's definitely a great resource to get people headed in that direction, or just to keep themselves well by talking about their problems, because it's important. Like, you should always have someone that you can talk to. You should always have a support system, and we can be a part of that.
Yeah. And how do you feel like Sean's House as a space like helps students open up and feel comfortable?
I think the peer training emphasizes fostering a welcoming space, and I think with the people in the house and also the house itself really invites people to just kind of open up. It's a very open space. We have people hanging out in the living room and the dining room. Like, there's people everywhere in a good way. I understand that it can feel like overwhelming if there's a lot of people in one space, but they're pretty, well dispersed throughout the house. And we just try to make it as comfortable as possible. Sean's house is a house. We have rooms and like couches, places to sit, books to read. There's so many things just for, regular hanging out or wanting to study or just wanting to have a conversation, play game of cards, what have you.
Yeah, definitely. And for you specifically as a peer lead, what has been one of the most meaningful parts of being serving your job?
I think just being able to see people experience like relief when someone just listens to them, because I've been in that position before where I just like for a very long time I felt like no, that I wasn't seen or understood, and I just felt misunderstood for a good period of my life. And having someone just listen to you is and validate your feelings is so important. And it's just a really great moment when people are like, oh wow, I'm not being dramatic. I'm not like overreacting about this situation. I am going through a tough time and this person's acknowledging it. I think I wanted someone like that for myself when I was younger, and now I can help other people in that way as well.
Yeah, and is there a specific moment that sticks out to you that like really changed your perspective on things?
I would say I think anytime I give someone peer support, it is very meaningful to me, just to be able to help people every day. And I will say one of the more meaningful moments I've had was when someone came in to talk because they had witnessed something that was very traumatic and they weren't really sure how to go about processing their feelings. They were saying they felt kind of guilty about being so shaken by the event because they weren't involved in it. They weren't like facing the immediate repercussions, but they were still like on the periphery and they witnessed something really traumatic. And I was able to validate their feelings and tell them that witnessing something traumatic is traumatic. And it's completely normal to be shaken and feeling upset at witnessing something like that. And I think they told me that they felt a lot better afterwards, and that they said they were feeling kind of crazy because they were so upset by this. And then they told me they realized like it is normal to be upset by witnessing something upsetting, and there are ways to go about coping and finding resources to help. But really, I think what this person needed was to be validated in their feelings, and I was able to do that, and it was just like a really good moment
Yeah.
for the both of us.
Yeah, and I feel like validation is so important because a lot of the times feelings are so downplayed. But what have you learned from students specifically that you've met here that you can carry on into your new conversations?
I think I think to your point that feelings are very downplayed. A lot of people dismiss their feelings and their emotions because they are worried about overreacting or being dramatic about something. And they'll be like, I don't even, they'll feel guilty for seeking out help for it because someone is going through something worse. I think it's very easy to have that mindset as well. And yes, there will always be someone experiencing something worse. Like if you get your leg cut off, there will be someone in the world who got both their legs cut off. Like there's always going to be someone with a more dire situation or a bigger problem, but that doesn't mean that yours is insignificant. It is very important to seek help for what you consider to be the little things, because you don't want it to grow into a bigger thing and then it becomes a more dire situation. I think we do a good job on this campus of promoting Sean's house and making sure people know that they can come in to talk to somebody, but I think the students that I've met are doing a good job of being proactive about their mental health and coming to the house to talk about things that might seem small to them, but really taking care of yourself at the genesis of a problem or maybe a mental health condition is really helpful in the long run. I think there's a quote, and I can't remember who said it, but it's like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So again, being proactive about your mental health can really help you out in the long run and potentially prevent things from escalating or give people the resources so that they know what to do when things get worse. That was a lot of like everywhere points, but that's kind of what I wanted to articulate.
Yeah. And you touched a little bit about how you've felt that same feeling of misunderstood. And are there any mental health challenges that you've personally experienced here as a college student?
Yes, definitely. I have anxiety, like I'm diagnosed with it, and I also have a chronic illness. And I think when I was younger, I was inundated with the sort of mental load of caring for a chronic illness. I'm type 1 diabetic. I don't need to be vague about that. And it was, I've had it since I was a toddler, but gaining independence and taking care of myself more, you do that naturally as a child, as a typically developing child. You know, you begin to gain more responsibilities as you get older. You take care of yourself more freely. But at the same time, I was taking care of myself in multiple ways. Like, I'm learning to brush my teeth independently and like make my bed and things like that. But then I'm also learning how to give myself insulin and take my blood sugar and how to tell people if I'm having an emergency, things like that. And I didn't realize it in the beginning, but as I was going through middle and high school, I was getting really overwhelmed with the responsibilities of being a student, being in extracurriculars, managing just being like a regular person, sleeping, eating, taking care of myself, and then also managing a chronic illness. It was like, I felt like I was having like a bunch of Google Chrome tabs open that I didn't know were running, but it's like really draining the computer battery. And I had a therapist when I was in high school that was really validating for me, and she also had diabetes. And that was so important because I realized like this kind of sucks. Like my situation kind of sucks. And again, yes, I was kind of grappling with, oh, someone has it worse than me, whatever. But someone's always going to have it worse than me. Someone's always going to have it easier than me. But this is just me. And it, in the moment, really sucks. If I have a low blood sugar and I need to sit out from something to take care of it, like that's annoying. And it just, I think I was, the very well-meaning adults in my life were very emphatic about telling me how brave I was and how mature I am for being able to take care of myself, and like, wow, like you're such an old soul, you know, like you're so mature, you can talk so eloquently about your condition, what have you. And that was great, and I appreciate those sentiments. And also, I just needed somebody to be like, this is a really frustrating situation. And I think having that acknowledgement was really important for me growing as a person. Things got really overwhelming for me in high school, and I would have like pretty intense panic attacks. But now I have the coping, and I still deal with anxiety, of course, and it's a day-to-day thing, but I have the coping skills. I am able to, again, proactively take care of myself before things escalate. And I wouldn't have been able to gain those skills without seeking help from someone else. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how have these like coping skills specifically helped you help it like transition into your job as a peer lead here?
I mean, part of one of the main tenets of peer support is self-disclosure. So talking about your own personal struggles and how it can help someone else. So I do tell people the sort of coping skills that I use when I'm feeling very anxious or when I'm feeling depressed, as an example. And one of the many things we do in a peer support session is we help people make safety plans. So if they're feeling like they might be getting to like an unsafe situation in regards to their mental health, we write out a safety plan, which is what coping skills can you utilize, what people in your life can you go to in an emergency situation, what's, you know, the hospital, what is like a clinician you can contact, all of those kind of things. But particularly with the coping skills one, people tend to be like unsure about how to answer that. And I can help them out by providing my own and kind of use that as like a jumping off point.
And earlier we talked about a little bit of what you're involved in here at UD, and you mentioned improv. How do you feel that comedy has been an outlet for you and your anxiety and kind of helping cope with it?
Yes, great question. It seems counterintuitive to say, maybe, but performing on stage and doing comedy as it is has been very helpful for my anxiety because it is so inherently vulnerable, and maybe this is, a pretty intense way to think about it, but I think every time I'm on stage or just in regular life trying to make people laugh, I'm constantly opening myself up for rejection. And if you want to pursue comedy, you have to be okay with being rejected by lots of people, receiving criticism that is not constructive, and taking it in stride. It's I've experienced a balance of telling like talking to people, trying to make people laugh, and either they're laughing with me or sometimes they're laughing at me. And it can feel frustrating. Like this literally happened to me last weekend. But it is important to be able to take that in stride, and I don't want to subscribe to the whole like don't let it affect you, because it's so much easier said than done. But I do try to prioritize valuing the opinions of those, not necessarily who support me, but who whose opinions I want to hear. I know there's that like very common platitude of don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from, which, I mean, sure, painting with a broad brush, but I think it does still stand that people have opinions that I'm going to value more than others. And knowing who to listen to more deeply, I guess, is really important. I think where I was going with this is comedy is inherently vulnerable, even if you're doing like slapstick knock knock jokes, because you're putting yourself out there and people are either gonna laugh or they're gonna not. Or they might even like heckle you. I haven't gotten to that point yet. But there is so much uncertainty, and things that I have been anxious about are always related to uncertainty. I have anxiety. I'm diagnosed. Like, I get in my head and worry kind of in circles about one thing, and then it goes and it goes and it goes. But, and when I started doing improv, it was really easy for me to not want to be on stage and not want to get in, because it's like, oh no, what if I flop? Like, what if I don't make people laugh? What if I say something wrong? And over time, it's gotten much easier for me to just get on stage and say something, because I've managed my anxiety better. I've become a lot more confident and secure in myself, and it's like a positive feedback loop with anxiety, where I feel happy and confident when I'm on stage, and then it makes my anxiety better. Yeah. And then when my anxiety is better, I want to go out and do it more. So I guess this sounds like I'm using comedy to like treat my anxiety, and I wouldn't put it that way, but it definitely has helped me a lot in not paying too much mind to what other people think, and having confidence in myself, and just being vulnerable more readily, and not just being vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. And one last question, with all your experiences with your own personal anxiety and your experiences here, what advice would you give to students who might be hesitant to reach out, whether that be talking to a therapist or coming here?
I think it is it's difficult in the beginning to seek out help, especially if you feel like it's whatever you want to talk about is not a big deal. But I think if you come to Sean's house or if you go to a clinician, wherever you go, you will find that what seems small is worthy of seeking help for. I feel like I said that like Yoda. That was a really odd sentence structure. It is worth it to come and talk about your feelings, talk about what's going on in your life, because I mean, you never know if you don't try. And the I think you have, in coming to Sean's house to talk about your feelings, you have very much to gain, a lot to gain and very little to lose.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lily.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching this week's episode. We'll see you next time.